What's up? What's up? What's up, Ian?
What's up, dude? Just trying to do my obligatory post shares and get this ball rolling, man. You excited? We got a big day today. It's the first one of two.
You know it. Welcome to REI Madness, everybody. If you're just tuning in, welcome. Hopefully everyone's excited. I know that Ian and I are super excited to chat with the guys at Team New Construction today. It's always nice to hear the insights from investors that are actually building new houses kind of on the front lines, because they're on the cutting edge of what's going on in the market. Not only do they have to make sure they are buying a good piece of land based on today's market standards, but they got to be realistic about their estimate timetables and things like that. So when they sell the property down the road, there might be market changes, right? So they got to take that into consideration on the front end. So I think it's going to be a really hot topic for most of our viewers, mostly because they're just curious on how this process works. I know I'm curious to know how this process works. And I also recognize that, a lot of folks, a lot of rehabbers in general, they recognize after they might do a really large flip, they look back and they say, you know what, this thing could have just been easier if I ripped the darn house down and started from scratch. So anyways, we're all super thankful that Jimmy Harris, Tim Kane, and Vernon Vaughan are here with us today, and we're going to introduce them to everybody in a second.
Yeah, man. No, it's definitely exciting. It's actually one of the topics I don't have a ton of insight on. We haven't done any new construction, so I'm actually probably going to be sitting back and taking notes. As you know, we've learned something every day from one of these presenters. But before we bring the boys in, for those of you who don't know, REI Madness has been going on all week. I don't know if Jay's going to bring up the sponsorship slide or not, but if he doesn't, the Breeding Group, Studio A Station, and the Storage Rebellion, they've been a huge help. They've donated money. We've had a bunch of other donations come in. We're raising money. If you guys are getting value out of this event, we've been raising money for the Metro Burn Foundation, who it's a charity near and dear to my heart based on what my other job is. So check it out, reimadness.com. You can find the donation link over there. And as always, enough about us, and let's bring the presenters in and get some value today.
Cool. What's up, guys? How are you?
Good.
Gonna rotate you guys around a little bit, so you guys are all on the top. We're at the bottom. To make it simple. All right, so let's start this thing off.
Introduce them.
Yeah, Vernon, why don't you start with yourself? Maybe just a real quick background, and then we'll go yourself to Tim to Jimmy.
Yeah, absolutely. Vernon Vaughan, based in the DC area, investor since 2004. Started my journey in Team New Construction in 2016. Have done it all. And so that way, when I say new construction is best, I speak from context.
Very good. Tim, what's going on, man?
Yeah, so Tim Kane. I'm in Old Town Alexandria, and I'm DC metro area, about an hour radius of the DC metro area, and I've been investing since 2012. And a lot like Vernon, I've dabbled in fix and flip, new self-storage, buy and hold, wholesale, all the good stuff. And similar to Vernon's thought, this hands down is, fix and flip on steroids if you do it right. And I've been doing new constructions more on the high end side in the Northern Virginia and DC area, on the craftsman style homes since 2017, and excited to be here. Thanks for the invite.
Yeah, man. We appreciate you having you here. And Jimmy, the one that's been building houses probably the longest. You want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. Jimmy Harris. I am based in Central Maryland. So we have projects right now going from Anne Arundel County all the way up to Harford County. So kind of more of how those guys around the DC area, we're around the Baltimore area, I guess you could say, hour radius around there. Don't make it down to DC too much. So, but I have been investing since 2003. I've owned a Remax, I've owned a title company, I've owned different stuff like that. Then got into the investing game. We build, we flip, we have a rental portfolio, and I've done subdivisions, I've done infill lots and all that kind of stuff. So definitely been through the school hard knocks, and can tell you what is good and what is not so good. So I guess we can dive into it a little bit later.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We're going to dive into some questions here shortly. So just to let everybody who's watching, viewing, listening, consuming anywhere you're watching this, any questions, feel free to comment them. This is streaming live on a few different Facebook channels and Facebook groups, LinkedIn, YouTube, things like that. So however you're watching this, feel free to ask any questions as we go. So let's start with the first question. You know, it's been a common question for everybody we've been interviewing throughout this entire event. 2021 market predictions. Vernon, I guess we could start with you. Like, what's your thought process? Are you kind of aggressively buying right now, or are you kind of, you know, taking your foot off the pedal and the throttle, or you know, or something kind of in between? Like, what's your game plan, kind of going through 2021 through the spring, the summer, and into the, you know, next fall's market?
So for us, it's business as usual. I mean, we're still buying. More importantly, we're still sticking to fundamentals, right? So we're not buying based on a comp being higher than it is right now. So it still has to make good sense for us. But, you know, one advantage of team new construction is it's not a line around the corner to buy a patch of dirt. So we often don't have to get into the bidding wars and paying amounts that don't make sense. We can stick to fundamentals and still get great deals. So for us, business as usual.
Yeah, Tim, what are you seeing? What are you seeing in your market? I know you're Vern's over in PG. You're a little bit further south. What are you seeing in your marketplace?
Yeah, I mean, very similar. It's the time to be opportunistic. It's just basically underwriting more conservatively. But like Vernon said, there's not, you know, hundreds of, you know, flippers or, you know, builders, developers that we're up against. I like to stay right now, 2021, I'm focusing on areas that I've built before, and I know the price of land right now. I know how much I'm building at with current, material prices, and I'm also doing more sensitivity analysis on it in case we have another hike. So I'm still foot to the gas, but definitely developing in neighborhoods I already know. I already know the code. I already know the impact fees and whatnot. But still moving forward, just being more conservative.
And Jimmy, yeah, that's awesome. And Jimmy, what are you seeing up here closer to the Baltimore metro area? I know you do. Are you still doing some small subdivisions? You know, what is your outlook like? What does your outlook? I can't even say. You know what? What's going on in 2021?
Can you repeat that? And then I'll answer.
Let me have a sip of coffee and try it again.
Sure, that's coffee in there. So anyway, yeah, I'm in the same boat as these guys. I'm pretty bullish on 2021. You know, I have a really good buddy of mine who works for a hedge fund. They manage I don't know, it's like $20 billion or something like that. He's a fund manager up there. I always get his insight as well. I say, what do you see the overall economy doing? What do you see the rates doing? What do you see? You know, he's actually one of my private investors too. So that helps out a lot too. And then there's also and I'll throw this out there for you guys too. There's a guy that I follow a lot. His name's Brian Buffini. And he has a coaching program, and I was part of it, you know, a couple different times throughout, you know, my history. But he does a thing every year called Bold Predictions. And he actually brings in like Lawrence Yun, who is the chief economist for NAR, National Association of Realtors. And they go through this whole process. I mean, they look at the GDP all the way through, like, you know, history and, you know, in the markets and, you know, and all that kind of good stuff. So if you go back through history, as far as new constructions, when, you know, the crap kind of hit the fan back in, you know, 2007, everybody was building, the national builders were building more than there was need for. There was a surplus of inventory. Since then, they've been about 1 million houses short of meeting that demand ever since 2007. So there is everybody talks about it, even on all the previous ones you guys have done this week, about how there's no inventory, you know, and that drives demand up and prices up and so on and so forth. But, you know, what Lawrence Yun was saying is like they're really hoping to rely on the new builds to kind of meet some of that demand, because the resale inventory is not there. So kind of what Vern said, and Tim, I'm pretty, like I said, bullish on it. I mean, I think that rates are going to stay low. Are they going to stay in the twos? I mean, probably not, but that's ridiculous anyways. But I think that you're going to see a good solid year. A lot of people have talked about, hey, there could be a potential fallout from this market, things like that. If you see it, I don't think you're going to see it till at least summer 2022, is my opinion. I think you have an 18-month span right now to make a good amount of money. And I think because of where rates are and stuff like that, and especially like, something I'm looking at is also the ability for a lot of these folks to, telework and telecommute and stuff like that. I'm looking at areas now that I just looked at lots way out in Harford County that I would have never looked at today. But I'm thinking that these guys are, they want a nice house. They want to, they want a floor plan that has offices in it and things like that. But, so I'm kind of expanding into some of those areas as well, where I can hit a little bit higher price point. It's hard to make money on stuff that, we're looking at, lower price ranges. We're actually now looking to potentially build those and keep them as rentals. So.
Yeah, we'll probably get into build a rent in a little bit. Go ahead, Jay.
Yeah, no, that's some good insights. And I think the direction that a lot of this is probably going to go is, throughout this call, we'll be kind of starting with the land and then building kind of all up to finished products. Let's talk a little bit about like how do you even value land in general? Like it's kind of a two-part question related to how do you find land and then how do you value it. But in general, when you guys value land, are you valuing the land just based off the highest and best use of what you're going to resell this thing for to end user? Kind of like a rehab, right? Like all rehabbers for the most part are paying over market value as of today, right? Like they just are. Like it's hard to. And is land similar to that? So how are you finding land and how are you valuing this land? Are you like, hey, listen, it's like the rehab game. I know I can sell this new construction property for $1 million, and I know my cost to build is $400,000, and I want to make $300,000, and then I just back that out, and that's the max I can pay for land. Or do you care more kind of, hey, I want to be in a certain LTV, let's call it, of the as-is value of the current land? Like, let's talk. I mean, the question's more related to valuing the land. If it goes into the point of how we're finding land, I don't think anyone's gonna hurt their feelings talking about that as well. So whichever one of you wants to start with that, I think that would be useful.
Yeah, so for me, it's more of reverse engineering, right, Jason? It's, let's say we buy a lot in Arlington, and we know the neighborhoods and what new construction is going for currently. So we back into it where we know what we build at per square foot, and we also know what it trades at with the big time builders. We go on MLS and we see, okay, because basically I would say 90% of our land acquisitions are teardowns. So we go back and see, okay, these are the big boys that are coming in and building the huge, $2.5 million Craftsmans, and we'll see what they're buying at. And we just reverse engineer it. For example, a $1.5 million in Arlington, North Arlington, 3,000 square feet. We know we build that at X amount of dollars, and we know that our internal goal is we want to make at least 40% return on investment. And that's another huge thing about new construction is it's the return on investments are way higher and less transactional. So, I could be doing 2 builds in 1 year, and it could be the same as if I did 10 flips. So I reverse engineer it to where for example, I know we buy like in the 6s in Arlington, and then the next street down, it's the same school district. And the cool thing about new construction too is, people aren't sending out thousands of mailers for new construction. A lot of times when the numbers don't work for a flipper, it still will work for a developer. So, we're competing. Yes, it's competitive, but also people have gotten to know us we do a lot in Old Town Alexandria. People have gotten to know us, members of the chamber and people in the community that have an eyesore on that street and they know it's been vacant for 18 months. They call us. So the leads come from all over. Yes, we do mailers and marketing and PPC and all that good stuff. But I would say like 8 out of 10 at least come from just word of mouth of veteran brokers or investors that it's above. They're not there yet with new construction, and they at least want to get a wholesale fee. And they know a handful of people that can actually make it done. So that's how we do it.
Yeah, and I think that's always been like this notion that because like whenever I talk to Jimmy about it, he's like, it's not that hard. I'm like, bro, it's like totally different than what I do. He's like, yeah, it's easy. I'm like, I don't think it is. And there's like this notion about it. I'm glad you break it down like that. And for those that don't know, we apologize. So Tim's obviously he told you where he is. He does a lot more tear down stuff. Vern does more infill lots, and Jimmy's done some subdivisions. He's kind of done it all, but he's more of a subdivision guy. So you'll kind of hear the difference in each presenters. So Vern, how do you value your infill lots?
So we take a look at the most desirable end product, right? What type of house is it? How many square feet is it? And very importantly, what did it sell for? And then we take a look at what we think it'll cost us to build out that finished product. And when I say what it'll cost us, everything from the lumber package to the porta potty to the permits. So when we take a look at cost, we don't really go dollar per square foot. We go line item, hundreds of line items. Then we can reverse engineer and say how much it costs us dollar per square foot. But really that doesn't matter to us. What is the bottom line? And our acquisitions are our land is typically somewhere between 10 and 15% of after repair value. I think the highest we've ever gone was 20%.
Interesting.
And that's how we go about it.
I definitely want to get back to ARVs. That's going to be the next question. Jimmy, what does it look like for you, like when you're looking at like a bigger subdivision? You doing the same thing, or just the numbers are extrapolated out over a bunch of different houses, or how does that work for you?
So if you're looking at, kind of like Vern, if it's an infill lot or something like that, really, you almost value it at the same as like a flip. You go and you crunch the numbers, and you can even use the MAO formula or whatever your formula is. There's some different things like Tim mentioned, impact fees and things like that you're gonna have to consider versus like a flip. Now if you're talking subdivision stuff, it's becoming a lot more challenging during COVID times to get subdivision stuff through, because you used to pay an engineer, they'd walk into the county and they'd see this person and that person and go over different things. And then those days are gone now. It's drop something off at the front and, hope to hear back from them in 6 months. So when if I was looking at doing just a minor subdivision in Baltimore County, 3 lots, the kind of thing, you have to factor in, all the engineering, all the county fees. You got to pay sometime a fee in lieu of doing something. He's just prepared to get feed to death. If Tim's building a one-off in Old Town Alexandria and Vern's got one in PG County, a one-off infill lot, you pretty much know what your fees are going to be to some degree within reason. When you start talking subdivision, man, it's a different world. And one that quite frankly, I've gotten to the point where it makes me, ill to even talk about subdivisions recently, just because it's like, you just get feed to death. I look at my phone and it's my engineer calling. I just cringe, and I'm like, how much is this phone call going to cost me?
No one ever calls to say hi, right?
Yeah, right. And it's like, he goes, I was talking to me the other day. He goes, well, if it makes you feel any better, you're not the only one. I'm like, no, that doesn't make me feel better. Like, not even close, not even a little bit.
So what is for those that don't know, there's a thing called impact fees. If someone wants to explain that, and what is a general, what are we talking about? Are we talking about $5,000? Or are we talking $30,000 on average?
I don't know what it is down where you guys are at, but like, in Anne Arundel County, I just had a permit and it was $17,000. And that's for transportation and schools and all this other crap. It's basically like a junk county fee on top of all their other fees that they charge you. And up in Harford County, I think it was $6,000. So they're kind of steeper, but I don't know what you guys are paying down there. So you chime in on that.
Well, we're pretty similar, but the Amazon effect in Northern Virginia has just crushed the county has just taken, as they were opportunistic to raise fees. So they've gone up tremendously just because of the value of the land and what it's bringing, but pretty similar, Jimmy.
Yeah. Makes sense.
How about PG, Vern? You guys get killed over there? I know Jimmy doesn't like building in PG for some reasons.
So, every meet I get down there goes right to Mr. Vaughan. I just say, hey, here's your PG guy right here, buddy.
There you go.
So PG County, our impact fees inside the Beltway are about $12,000, and outside the Beltway, they're twice as much. And the impact fees are, I think, about equally split. Half of it goes to fire and rescue. Other half in PG County goes to schools, which, out of 20-something counties, I think we're like 23rd. So as a taxpayer, I'm not getting my money's worth. But the great news is we build inside the Beltway. Those are some of the highest density, most profitable areas to build in. So while we don't like paying impact fees, if we go outside the Beltway, we know we pay twice as much.
Interesting. Yeah, so something that came up in all three of yours, talking about valuing land, was the ARV, right? And that's something that I've always had difficult understanding. You're building a new, let's call it a spec home per se, right? You're building something new that's brand new to the market. How do you value against the closest comp? Do you have a percentage above, here's the comp, or are you going dollar for dollar? Is there a delta between new builds versus, nice looking houses? How do you guys feel that out to say, I got a new house, this is what it's going to be worth? Jimmy, you want to start?
Yeah, sure. So I first thing I do is just go right to the MLS. And I'll see what comps are there. There's a lot of new stuff that gets listed in the MLS. Now, a lot of your bigger builders don't put stuff on the MLS. So if I'm trying to comp against the one I have down in Anne Arundel County, they were going to redo it. I'm speccing it. But Toll Brothers built a community right down the street. The cheapest one they sold in that community was 1.2, 1.3, something like that. Now, that's not normally the range that I'm in, just so everybody's aware. That's definitely on the high end of what I'm doing. It's probably normal for Tim. I know Vern, you get some good prices down there as well. That's a high price for up here. But so what I'll do is I actually go and visit those communities. See, I'm a licensed agent. I have been since 2003. So I go in there with my agent hat on, and I just say, hey, I'm an agent. I'm looking at in the area. I might have a client that might be interested. Can you tell me about your community or your house or whatever? So I pull the data off the MLS, and then I just go in and I'll go in and
engineer.
I'll actually visit the competition. I'll go and see what they're doing, what their finishes are, what options they're offering, things of that nature, because the comp data is great, but also the name of the game is beat your competition. So if I'm a buyer and I have a $1 million budget or a $500,000 budget or a $300,000 budget, I'm going to look at everything that's on the market in that price range, whether it be a rehab or a resale or a new house or whatever. So I try to pull all the data I can, regarding that. As far as, do I think I can sell it for more? In theory, yeah, you would think you could sell it for more, but I don't run my numbers off of that. I run my numbers off of the actual data that's out there. I don't, I think Vern even mentioned it before. I'm not going out there speculating oh, well, this is an increasing market and I have a new house, so this is going to be worth 10% more. So that's what I'm running my numbers off of. Hey, if I get to 10%, it's a bonus. But, I know I need to make my numbers work on the actual data that an appraiser is going to use as well. So
Nice. Good stuff. We got a few questions that came in. I'm going to get to those in a second. Do you guys use the same building plans, the same plans for every one of your builds? We can talk about that for a little bit, or do you have different styles for different markets? And also, kind of during that question, what's your estimate cost per square feet to build? Obviously that's going to depend. I'm guessing I might be wrong about this, that some of Tim's stuff is on the higher end and Vern's probably a little bit in the middle, or maybe similar to Jimmy's type of thing, just based on geographic location. But maybe let's just go through kind of the range of cost per square foot from kind of a lower end property to a higher end property, as well as, is it the exact same model, exact same build, very, very similar, or is it just everyone's very unique? So I don't know if Tim wants to jump into that one first.
Yeah. So to answer your question about the same plans, I buy a lot, just like, especially with someone, getting into development, and you want to work with a neighborhood, and there's a lot of tear downs, Arlington, Old Town, and whatnot. These lots are like 5,000 square feet, 4,800 with setbacks, right? So we have like these big, tall shotgun homes, right? That we call them. But the cool thing about new development is a lot of people in fix and flips, if you don't add a master suite and you have to share like a hallway bathroom, you get a lot of people saying no. With new development, you go with that crowd pleaser. So we do. So it's usually we have like a flagship plan, and then we, retrofit it to the lot and the setbacks. But we traditionally do about 1,000 square feet a floor, 3 floors. And that's, with the huge master suite, washer and dryer upstairs, which people love, which you can't do a lot of flips. So we use that 4 or 5 bedroom, 3.5 bath plan, and then retrofit it to the area. And then the second part of that is I've gone anywhere from, and everyone's different, take this with a grain of salt. Everyone has different construction crews. Everyone does their own thing. But I've ranged from about $115 a square foot to $150 on one we did in Vienna, Virginia, which the neighborhood was just, you needed to do the Viking appliances and whatnot. But I know that's a large range, but there's a median there, but that's from my personal experience.
What'd you say it was 100 to 150?
Yeah, 115 to
115.
Yeah.
Is your other two guys, are you guys similar to that? Square footage wise, cost per square footage?
Go ahead, Vern.
For us, so we're coming in right now, right at about pre-COVID lumber prices. We were about 110 to 115. Right now, we're under roof in a project, which we were impacted by the lumber prices, and so when we cross the finish line, we'll be able to kind of reverse engineer. One reason we don't go by the dollar per square foot number is because square foot, I mean, that's really that's kind of a two-dimensional measurement. And one example I always use is our very first project we did in Laurel, Maryland. The roof system, the roofing system, the roof trusses, cost us about $14,000 just because of design, when it should have cost $8,000. And once again, had that design been different, the square footage of the house would have been the same. But when you pay 14, versus 8, and if you say, hey, how much did it cost me dollar per square foot to build this house, your number is going to be very different. So we always do line item, everything, like I say, porta potty to impact fees. And when we're done the project, we reverse engineer and say, how much did it cost us on a per square foot basis? Now, one disadvantage we've got is we've never built the same floor plan twice. We're changing that soon, but we've never built the same floor plan twice.
Yeah, that's very interesting, because I know we're looking at building a small 10-unit building, and our guy was like, yeah, we'll get some plans that I've used in the past. And I was like, oh, yeah, that's interesting. I never really thought about reusing plans over and over and over again, but I'm sure that helps a lot in your cost. Now, Jimmy, so I want to change the question up just a little bit. Like Vern's talking about not going by price per square foot, and I think that's a very, very fair statement. But what have you done, because it does kind of come down to the pricing, what have you done with lumber packages because of COVID? Because we've all felt the impact. We've talked about it several times this week of windows and lead times and everything else. How have you been handling that? Is there anything that you could do to change up to lower your cost, or you just kind of rolling with it and you're getting it out on the back end?
So we have switched gears I would say kind of substantially in 2021. Regarding that stuff, we kind of took a pretty hard look at what our, what this was going to look like for us overall. I mean, I literally this morning just got an email from 84 Lumber saying they can't get us OSB anymore, which is insane. They're saying that the Southeast, which is where most of the OSB is produced, is cranking out so many houses and there's a lumber shortage that they can supply the Southeast alone and meet all of their demand. So if you're talking 84 Lumber, they might not even be able to get, lumber, which is kind of like McDonald's not getting hamburgers. So anyway, so what we've done actually, so we do build the same plans over and over. We have 6 different plans that we built for a while, and we kind of tweaked them as we've gone and things like that. So that helps. But one thing that we've done this year, we switched to modular homes. So that's something that we've done tons of research on, and I've done a lot of comparisons and things like that, as far as not only from an investment standpoint, but from an end user standpoint, like what's a buyer going to look like, is this going to matter? Is it not going to matter? And I did just tons and tons of homework. We just set our first one in Harford County. Good.
Yeah. So what type of prefab are we talking? Like what I see going on in my Ryan, Ryan's building out the rest of my subdivision and they're just bringing in lumber packages and they're putting are you talking about a trailer?
No, I'm talking about if I could show everybody offline or whatever, but no, like when I set these boxes, the interior doors are installed. The ceramic tile is done in the bathrooms. And I'm not talking like basic ceramic tile. I'm talking like rain shower heads, wall niches, double shower heads, zero entry showers. I mean, custom stuff that I would normally do in a custom high-end type home. The one I just did up there was 3,200 square feet, 4 beds, 2.5 baths, 2-car garage. And I had stick built that exact same floor plan before. So they took my floor plan and made it a modular, brought it in 4 boxes, set it, and you could not tell the difference if you walk through that house or the house that I built before that was a stick house. So I'm looking at that from a couple different perspectives. One, subcontractor management, and 2, there's less subcontractor management for me. And 2, also, I mean, those guys, the factory where I'm getting those things built 500 houses last year. I'm not building 500 houses. I can't get those economies of scale. So where a lumber price might hit me really hard if I'm only building, 10 houses a year, it's going to hit them a lot less hard. So that's something that I looked at, we looked at, as far as going into COVID. I mean, I was pretty scared that I wasn't going to be able to build. So we said, is there ways that we can do this? And what that's going to do is literally cut our build time in half also.
Nice. Yeah. So that kind of answers Ed's question related to, have you guys started working with prefab housing, especially on some of your infill lots? Tim or Vern, have you guys messed with any of that yet, or haven't really needed to?
I personally have not. I'm sticking to the tear downs and just sticking to what I know, the craftsmen's. But I don't know about Vern.
For us, stick build for infill lots, high density neighborhoods. They're very small lots. Look, sometimes we have trouble getting a crane and to do basic stuff. I can't imagine getting modules in there, but stick builds works for us.
Yeah, that makes sense. Never actually thought about that on especially some of those smaller lots. Jimmy, I'm just going to throw up both of these questions real quick because I think these are for you because it's related to this topic. What's your estimate cost per square foot for some of these prefabs? And then can you speak related to some of the inspections?
Yep. So the cost of a prefab, you're really not saving money on the build itself. What I'm saving money on is the time frame, my holding cost of it. So if it takes me, and I project 10 months 12 months on a build from literally start to finish, from the time I acquire the lot to the time I build it and sell it to, an end user. In theory, the numbers that I've run should be able to cut that in half. So the way that works is when I'm out there doing all the site work, literally they're building the house in the factory. And then when the foundation's in, 3 months after I place the order, that house is sitting on a foundation, about 80% done. So you're not saving cost per square foot dollars. What you're saving is the headaches and hassles of subcontractor management. I figure it's going to cut it to about 50, 60% off of what we're currently doing on a stick build project. Like, there are no rough-ins. So this inspection at the facility, all these, I can't speak to all of them, but we visited a number of these modular companies. And the one that we decided to go with, they actually are inspected by Maryland inspectors while these things are being built in their factories. So all the rough-ins are inspected on site. They come down here. I don't need to get a plumbing rough-in inspection. I don't need to get an electrical rough-in inspection. I don't need to get any of that stuff. Insulation inspection. All that stuff is signed off on from the factory. So when I get the house, all I need to do basically is my finals.
Yeah, you're connecting utilities and you're getting.
Yeah, exactly. I'm connecting utilities. I have to get my electrician to come in, and then I have to get my service inspection done for my electrical. So I'm getting a service and I'm getting a final. But all my rough-in is already done up there. So all that stuff's done. Similar type square footage pricing, but again, it's the way that I saw it is it's less subcontractor management, less time frame for holding costs, and I'm not at the mercy necessarily as much for the weather. So if it comes down here and and it starts pouring rain for 3 weeks, my framing crew is not sitting home twiddling their thumbs. When I get that house and it gets delivered, it's weather tight that same day. So I can go in there and start finishing drywall or doing all the interior stuff that needs to be done.
Yeah, I think Mr. Warren Buffett invested a lot in the modular homes back in the day. So very interesting. And I know they've come a long way.
Yeah.
Jay, you want to put up Dan's question about materials? And I'd be interested to hear from Vernon, Vernon and Jimmy versus Tim. Tim, you do super high end. But I guess, Vernon, so what are you doing? Are you speccing the house out and going with like a builder grade material or some amenities? And then we'll pass it over to Tim and discuss like what some higher end stuff looks like.
So we're doing, I guess, some mid-level finishes. Nothing crazy and over the top. In our infill neighborhoods where the finished product is going between $600,000 and $700,000, which is a decent chunk of change, right? And in the neighborhoods we're in, it's not about crazy, super expensive materials. Our Washington, D.C. rehabs probably are a step up in terms of finishes, very modern, contemporary finishes. And our infill products, number one, craftsmanship is everything, right? So where some rehabbers throw in some razzle dazzle, but for the materials, but get away with substandard work. For us, while we're going to use nice materials, the craftsmanship has to be there. So we're building what I call future classics. The homes that are going to be timeless, are not cutting edge trendy, but are going to age well. But in return, the craftsmanship needs to be there.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. And Tim, if you want to start off by what your price point is and what like must-haves in your houses or what type of materials you're using to get those prices.
Yeah, this is why new development it's why I love it, because this is where you make your money in new development. So, for example, we in the $600,000 and $700K range, that is a good chunk of change, and a lot of the building material is the same 2x4s. It's the same lumber packages, but where you can justify that higher end. For example, we'll use Trex, on the porch and on the deck. We'll use Anderson 100 series on the windows. That's at our price point. I think the highest I've ever done is 2.2, 2.25. you have those like few things that people look at to like kind of see, okay, this is a high quality house. One is Hardy siding, James Hardy siding. You got to have that concrete composite. You got to have those large high-end Anderson windows. The trim, it's all about, we just have a trim guy that comes in and does the oversized trim, the trim around the windows, the baseboards, coffered ceilings, tray ceilings, it's that kind of stuff, the molding. And then just the appliance package, you're going to go in the Viking or the GE high profile. So it's things like that, like use a white oak. We use all hardwood white oak at a higher per square foot. As long as you check off those high-end boxes, you're still right around the same in the build. It's a quality build, but framing is framing, lumber is lumber. So we go high-end on the cosmetic items, and we spend all the money in the kitchens, all the money in the master suites with the soaker tubs and oversized shower, and you go more custom with herringbone patterns and gas double fireplaces kind of thing. But that's where it's new construction is so cool, because you build for right around the same square footage, and then you add the higher end finishes, and it yields. It's easy to do. You're going to install the same tile anyway, but going higher end, you're going to get that client that appreciates those finishes and feels safe at that price point.
Nice, all good stuff. I'm gonna throw this one at Jimmy. Have you guys had to adjust your building design or features at all due to COVID? This is coming from Vadim. If you guys don't know Vadim, he's going to be on live with us at 7:30 p.m. tonight, talking about rentals and multifamilies and things like that. So go ahead, Jimmy. What's your thoughts on that?
Mr. Vadim. What's up, buddy? Hey, so I would say that, as we discussed, I kind of changed our whole approach, not necessarily just the design. One thing that I think that is going to come out of COVID, and I kind of, made a mention of it before, the design, as far as I think you're going to want to include more home offices in there. I know that the designs that we're looking at now, I'm trying to incorporate that, or I'm at least like putting something in the basement, like a rec room with a small office down there or something. So on some of our smaller floor plans, we don't have an office on the main level. Our bigger floor plans, we do. You have a dedicated office, and then living room, dining room, family room, kitchen, etc. On some of the smaller ones, I think that, try to find, even in your rehabs, if they're doing, whoever's doing rehabs, I think that that's going to become bigger. I think that the whole teleworking, telecommuting thing is here to stay. I don't think that it's going anywhere anytime soon. I think a lot of companies figured out they can save a lot of money by not leasing these huge offices. I got, friends of mine that work for Black & Decker, and he said just in like the Towson headquarters or whatever, they're going to save like tens of millions of dollars on just office leases and, and all that kind of good stuff, because these folks are working from home. They'll save like community type meeting spaces, but everybody's corner office is now going. Their corner office is whatever you make it at home. They actually got like a stipend to go like $3,000 or whatever to go out and buy office furniture and stuff like that. So I think that's a trend that's here to stay because of COVID. I don't think it's going anywhere. So we are designing some things like that into the plans to make sure that we can cater to that person. And I'm also looking at areas I probably wouldn't have looked in before, a little bit further out. Because if they're not commuting to an office, who cares? They want to live in a nice area or whatever. Maybe they've always wanted to move out to the country or something like that. And now this allows them to do that.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Makes a lot of sense. Let's do one wrap up question that we'll ask all you guys. It came from Ed. I think it's a really good question, and I think everybody's always interested in this. Related to all kinds of real estate investment strategies. And then if any other questions come in, we can go through those as well. But maybe we'll just start with kind of Vern and work our way over. Like, how's your team set up? Who's got what responsibilities? What's your day-to-day responsibilities? Like, how does your organization look?
So for my new build business, Capital Gateway Development, it's just me and my partner, Andrew. And so, as you can imagine, we wear many hats, and on some functions we kind of back each other up. So, let's kind of start with the beginning. when it comes to acquisitions. We have a meeting of minds when it comes to acquisitions. Is this a good deal? Often I'll kind of run a basic financial analysis, like, hey, we're modeling it based on this previous house we built. Here's what the comp is. What does our bottom line look like? Then we'll split up tasks when it actually comes to getting it built. Often infrastructure may come to me in terms of getting in initial utility applications, and he may be the one to engage surveys and get the site plan and et cetera. And we back each other up on project management throughout the job, kind of making sure that, once again, we're going behind each other, making sure we're not missing anything. And on a dispo side, typically I'll be the one to arrange photos of the property, getting it listed, and handling dispo.
Nice. How's your setup, Tim?
Yeah, so it's all about the team with new development, because new development, new construction can be overwhelming. And I learned a long time ago that I'm great at certain things and I'm awful at other things. And I'm going to focus on the stuff I'm good at. So I'm in charge of the acquisitions. We're getting these off market usually. So I'm acquisitions and design, but I can't tell you enough how much I hate paperwork and rezoning and applying for permits and variances and public hearings and notifying the neighbors. It overwhelms me and I hate it. So my finance manager is absolutely perfect at that. So I couldn't do anything without him. So he's the one doing, sit behind the desk, doing everything that I absolutely hate, but he is a rock star at it. And then I have a field manager on site, on boots on ground. So I pay him handsomely because I put all my trust into him. He is on top of all the contractors, getting multiple bids, making sure the timeline, we're on schedule and whatnot. Going back to finance manager, he's making sure we are on budget as well with the loan and the capital stack put in place. And then myself, I come in at the end and take all the credit and market it and put it on Instagram, and then repeat.
Nice. How about you, Jimmy? What does it look like for you?
Kind of similar to Tim. Myself and my father, who's my business partner, who actually I brought into the business, which most people find that funny. So, we're primarily in charge of, similar to Tim, acquisitions. Similar to what Tim said, I found out over the years that I am good at some things, not good at others. I do have a full-time superintendent who runs the entire field for me. And I would not do this without him. He knows that. I pay him very, very well. Very well. Most people are shocked at what he makes, but he's worth every penny of it. But he also crosses over into, if I am doing a rehab or we're turning over some of our rental properties or something like that, like he'll jump in and do that stuff for me too. And then I do have a full construction crew that works for me as well. I have a few guys there, and they make a world of difference for me too. Just for, the simple fact of punch out, trim, we do all that stuff in-house. Like if I'm trimming a house or doing something like that, all the carpentry and all that stuff gets done in-house. If I'm setting kitchens and all that stuff, we do all that stuff in-house. And then I have, agents that work for us on the other side, so they can list properties and things like that as well. This is definitely a team sport. It's not, because sometimes you're meeting, inspectors or subs or whatever, at all times of the day. And this way my superintendent takes care of all that stuff. And, sometimes I'm good just pounding away at a keyboard. You kind of have to know your role and stick to it. But without the team is definitely not something I would want to do. Because there's a lot of moving parts, more moving parts, like Tim suggested, as far as county, permits and all that kind of good stuff. So I have, normally in the different counties, I have people that pull the permits for me. It's rare that I go to a county to pull any kind of a permit. you know, and do it that way. So, you know, it's important to have the right team.
Yeah, no, we that all makes sense. And there's two questions I got to ask because I know we've been going for a hot minute, but if you guys are good with it, number one, Ryan Tucker, I think I know that guy. Are you guys still offering warranties to buyers, or are you required by state law?
I'm not telling that guy anything.
All right, fair enough. Vern, give us the answer. Vern, you guys offer warranties? Are you required to?
Oh, yeah. We're required to by state law. Yeah. Absolutely. I think most jurisdictions are.
Yeah.
All right. And then the last question I got to ask, because I feel like Jay would get mad at me if we didn't discuss how to finance these properties, since I'm hosting a podcast with a finance guy. What does the financing look like for you guys on these types of properties? Is it easy to get debt on? All private investors, hard money lenders? Where are you guys at? Tim, what's it look like for you guys in financing?
Yeah, we primarily use, you know, I have my, and again, it's by your team and your strategy, but my capital stack is mostly personal funds just because of, and equity partners, just because of the duration of this. You know, you're talking 12 to 18 months. And, you know, my fix and flip money, I leverage the heck out of, right? Like all day, every day, churn and burn. But these are the big like pot of gold at the end that I like to just, you know, that's one thing, especially during COVID, that's you need to hedge. And so I keep my overhead low on this, and that's why I only do a few at a time. But it's I personally do personal funds with equity partners.
Nice. What does it look like for you, Jimmy?
Mainly private money. So, you know, we'll use people self-directed IRAs and so on and so forth. I have done private money. I've tried to talk that company, Hard Money Bankers, into lending me stuff. They're a little tight on that stuff, but you know, but no, I mean, primarily private money. And the reason for it is, I was having a meeting earlier with a bank today about looking at refining some of our rentals, and, you know, and then the topic of building came up and stuff like that. And, you know, they want a lot of skin in the game up front, and they want a lot of restrictions and things like that. You know, and sometimes the ease of money is worth a lot more than, you know, saving a point here or a little bit of an interest rate, you know, edge there and things like that. So we're primarily all private money.
Right. How about you, Vern? What does it look like for you? Because I'm going to ask Jason, because I'm sure
a combo of cash on hand and private money. We may seek out some other banking relationships in the future as we scale, but right now we're happy with that, you know?
That's actually surprising to me. I figured you guys would do some sort of bank facility and then private capital or your own cash or HELOCs or whatever behind it. But that's good. I mean, the one trend that I like personally, because it meets my kind of investing formula as well, is not too levered up, not doing too many projects at any given time, right? Like, you know, you're not trying to just do skinny margins on tons and tons of deals. It's like, hey, we're trying to maximize our profit. You know, do one deal at a time or a few deals on a time. So many real estate investors fall into that bad trap of like, hey man, I just flipped a house and I made 30 grand or 40 grand. Now I'm going to go do 10 more at the same time and I'm going to make 400 grand. And it's like, it doesn't work like that. It never works. It doesn't work in lending. It doesn't work in buying. It doesn't work with anything. So, you know, it's good to hear that you're kind of sticking to that formula. And, you know, obviously we all want to do every good deal we can get our hands on, right? That's important. But so many real estate investors fall into the trap of just giving themselves a job that they don't freaking want anyways by doing too many deals. And then you know how it goes. You do too many deals, it's very, very difficult to backtrack that out. So that's good to hear. Ian, we got anything else for these gentlemen?
No, I think we covered a lot. I feel like we could keep going because I'm so intrigued by the business model. But either way, I guess, where's the best place to find you guys on the internet, Vern?
Instagram and Facebook, man, at Vernon Vaughan 1.
How about you, Tim?
Yeah, it's the same thing. Instagram at Tim Ryan Kane or at Kane Home Designs, and also our website, kanehomedesigns.com.
How about you, Jimmy?
Same thing as those guys. Website's bluewaterpropertiesofmd.com. Facebook, all that good stuff. And, you can track us down through there, or you guys can shoot me an email directly, jimmy@bwpmd.com.
Let me ask you guys one other question before we roll. Do you guys only do new builds and for your own projects, or do you ever do it on a contract basis for someone that finds a lot themselves, and to do some sort of partnership, or just as fee-based?
We will do a fee-based thing. I don't partner up with anybody. I don't do any joint ventures. I have built custom homes for people, like for homeowners. I got away from that. I won't do that anymore. It's just a time suck. I mean, it's a major time suck. And then they want, they're literally sitting at the lot saying, hey, the plumber's supposed to be here at 10. It's 10:02 and I don't see him. What's going on? And I'm like, please don't call me ever again. But I mean, it's just that I won't do. I don't, no offense. I don't like partners. My dad's my partner. It's hard enough to like him. But
I can see that.
Yeah. But I will go out there, like if an investor has a lot and they say, hey, I want to build something and, resell it or something like that. As long as it's one of our models and it's something that I can do. And I say, hey, if you pick it and it's inside of this box, then, we'll go ahead and do it and put a GC fee on top of it.
Yeah, I do the same thing. I've done that in the past. And just like Jimmy was saying, I pick out the stair rail in 2 minutes, and then working with a client, it's 14 meetings and 12 Zoom calls. It's 10 times the amount of work. So we just build these really, superior properties, neutral, like Vernon does. And, 99% of the time, we just let it hit the market. We just have our system in place, and we just stick to it.
Nice. Hi, guys. Well, certainly appreciate you guys all doing this. Just to let everybody know, if you want to watch the replay, however you're watching it now, you can replay it the same exact way. We're on Facebook, we're on LinkedIn, we're on YouTube. It'll be there. It's evergreen. So if you have any other questions, as you're watching this, if you're not watching this live, feel free to comment those questions on these feeds, and we'll make sure we get these things answered. And if you need anything from any of these guys, feel free to reach out to them directly. They're all good people. So thanks again, guys, for coming by.
Thank you, guys.
We appreciate it.
Take care, guys.
Take care.